Welcome again. This is another storytelling reading from Brian Jake's Mariel of Redwall. I first got this around Easter time, the Rose Persian New Year time, so it reminds me of Easter. And Redwall books are for Easter, Narnia books are for Christmas. Anyway, where did we leave off? We left off, I believe, at chapter 10. Okay, chapter 10. Not chapter. There we go. Abbot Bernard, I think he's the cook, and almost an hour before he was usually up and about, Abbot Bernard was wakened by the first rays of dawn and a loud knocking on his bedroom door. Hastily stowing his nightcap beneath the pillows, he rubbed sleep from his eyes and tried to look as dignified as a Redwall abbot should. Ahem, the door's open. Come right in, please. Bag and Run entered, bearing a tray between them. Good morning, Father Abbot, and a happy Jubilee to you, sir. The abbot hid a smile as he propped himself into a sitting position. And good morning to you, young otters. I'm completely forgotten about my Jubilee. It's a good job that you reminded me. Now, what's all this? It's your breakfast, Father. Meadow sweet and sage tea. Aye, an arrowroot curd with strawberries, and barley toast spread with honey. Some hot blackberry muffins, too, and cold willow cake and greengage jam. The abbot held up his paws. Oh, my goodness! How will I get through it all? It's far too much for me. I'll just have the meadow sweet tea for now. How kind and thoughtful of you. I'll bet you haven't had your own breakfast yet. How about you two helping me to finish all this? It was no It was no sooner a word than a bite with his two younger otters, Bag and Run, sat on the bed as morning sunlight filled the room, doing full justice to the good breakfast they had prepared while showing the abbot a bank paper cord they had made for him. See, see that there's you, Father, standing on the lawn by the pond. Oh yes, what a good likeness, and that's a splendid tree I'm standing by. That's not a tree, it's Mother Melis. Can't you see her stripes? Of course. I thought this one over here was Mother Melis. Oh no, that's Simeon looking for herbs. And this one is Geb Quill rowing out a barrel of October ale for your feast. Why, so it is. Well done indeed. The morning blossomed into sunlight fullness. Redwall Abbey stirred itself into life. Lazy blue smoke from its kitchen chimneys, drifting toward the woods where it tangled gently to blend in with tendrils of white mist hanging in the trees. Preparations were well under way. Flower gardens decked the long tables and set out in the orchard. Creatures from the outlying woodlands and fields began arriving, bringing gifts and food and their families with them. Brother Hubert stationed Dandin and Saxtus on the ramparts over the gatehouse. Do a slow patrol of the walls. If you see any creature coming in who ought need assistance, then run down and help them. Both young mice nodded importantly, proud to be helping in such an adult way. They pulled out their chests, frowned intently, and with swinging paws set out on tour of the high ramparts around the outer abbey walls. Friar Older put the finishing touch to his great masterpiece. Knowing the abbot's taste for the savoury rather than the sweet, he had concocted an invention of his own. Bernard bread. It was a vast loaf of wheat and oat bread, almost the size of a grown badger. Alder opened the big oven doors as he called to his assistants, Cocklebur. Lend a bell there, Herr Cockles. The abbot's surprise is almost done. A small hedgehog came running, stumbling, tripping over a long white apron, his assistant cook's hat falling over his eyes. Simmer in season. Let's look at the size of it. Come in, Friar. They inserted the long wooden paddles and set them in the grooves either side of the bread tray. Sweating and panting, they heaved with might. and mane until the Bernard loaf began moving slowly and majestically toward the oven doors. Steady, easy now, here it comes. Push that stonemason's trolley over here. We'll need something to land it on. With a gentle thud, the trolley received its precious burden. Cocklebur stood back, wiping his brow on the corner of his apron. Perishin' puddings, Friar. It's a monster. Look at that crust. It's like a shiny gold mountain, all crispy and steamin'. Friar Alder seated himself upon a sack of flour. So it is, Cockles. So it is. There's leek, sage, rosemary, bay, turnip, beetroot, onions, mushrooms of 6 varieties, young cabbage, fennel, cucumber, and corn, all floating in a mild pepper and creamy gravy. What do you think of that, young'un? Frizzling fry pans, there's no doubt about it. You're a fantastic friar, a colossal cook, a stupendous stewer. All right, Cockles, that's quite enough. I know I do have a certain skill. All that remains is to heat it slightly before we bring it to table this evening. Now is everything else in order? Preserved fruits, berry flans, oh, and the 4 seasons forest trifle? Just finishing the piping, friar. I put up early and did the pink rosettes and green leaf shapes with the mint cream. Now all I've got to do is the twirly bits along the edges with yellow butternut cream. Good, you carry on with that while I go and check the wine, ales, and cordial lists with Gabriel Quill. Always remember, Cocklebur, the right drinks complement the right food. Right food, right drink, success. Wrong food, wrong drink, disaster. Always remember that, my lad. The excitement of events to come increased with the advance of late afternoon. A pleasant breeze ruffled the grass, taking the edge off the intense summer heat. The young Redwallers and woodland creatures, joined by some of the more active elders, began an impromptu sports day in the abbey grounds. Dandin and Saxtis, however, stayed faithfully patrolling the wall tops, peering over battlements, scanning woodland path and flatland, high conscious of their responsible position. Several times that day they unbarred the main gates to assist with carrying babies, helping the old ones, and other useful tasks. Now they rested a while, together on the northern corner of the west wall, watching their companions at play. Ha ha! Look at Bag and Run! Trust 2 otters with the 3-legged race. What a pally of scallywags, eh, Dandin? Dandin had turned. He was shielding his eyes, gazing up to the path to the north. Here, look at this, Saxtis. There's 2 creatures coming toward the abbey. Do you know them? Saxtis peered at the odd pair of figures dog-trotting along the dusty path. Can't say I ever seen them before. Looks like a hare and a mouse dressed as a rag-bag. Go tell Mother Melis, will you, Saxtis? I'll stand by the gate open. She'll probably want to speak with them. Trotting silently alongside Tarquin, the mousemaid had her first view of Redwall Abbey. She liked what she saw. With a dusty brown path ringing across its front, the late afternoon sunlight played over the structure, giving it a faded rosy glow. Behind the stout outer wall with its battlements and ramparts, she could see the high-spired abbey roof flanked by lower sloping ones, peaceful and serene, standing homely and solid with the summer green forest at its back. Redwall. Now she knew why creatures talked of it with reverence. It appeared to blend with the surrounding moss-flower country as a haven of rest and tranquillity, in harmony in all nature, like some gentle giant of a mother sheltering and protecting her children. The badger and the 2 young mice stood out upon the path as Tarquin and Storm walked up. Mother Melis and the hare clasped paws. Well, well, Tarquin Long-leaved Wood Sorrel, you old bounder. Stop me vitals, Melis. Are you still alive and growing, you old straight dog? Saxtis and Dandin stood watching as the 2 old friends greeted each other. Dandin eyed the ragged mousemaid. She stood by, swinging a thick knotted length of rope, unconcerned by her filthy appearance, or the sea-scoured, sand-worn, forest-torn, loose burlap sacking dress she wore. The maid stared boldly back at Dandin as badger and hare conversed. So how goes it at Salamandasron? Who rules there now? Oh, the old Fire Mountain's still there, you know, strong as ever. The Lord Badger there is Ronblade, biggest dog badger you've ever set eyes on. Some say he's the image of his great-grandsire, Sunstripe the Mace. Ha! What a warrior! He can flay a crew of sea rats before breakfast, and that's on a bad day. But enough of all this fiddle-faddle, old striped dog. You'd remember me at old Abbot Thomas's final jubilee. I was only a bobtail leveret then. Of course, I remember it well. You were with your father Lorquin. Ah, those were the seasons, eh? Who's your young friend? The mousemaid stepped up and spoke for herself. I'm Storm Gullwhacker. This is my weapon, the Gullwhacker. Melis nodded courteously, hiding her amusement at the newcomer's confident and forthright manner. Welcome to Redwall Abbey, Storm Gullwhacker. Perhaps you'd like to be shown around our home. Dandin, Saxtis, take this young mousemaid inside and see if you can get her some decent clothing and a bath. While Melis and Tarquin continued their conversation in the open gateway, Dandin and Saxtis walked inside, accompanied by Storm. Saxtis noticed some of the young ones staring open-mouthed at Storm. I say, Storm, we'd best go and find Sister Sage, or she'll get you cleaned up and dressed nicely. Storm swung Gullwhacker deftly, flicking the head off a daisy. Nobody's washing and dressing me up, Mouse. I am all right as I am. Saxtis disagreed. Oh, no, no, you must do as Mother Melis says. Dandin saw something in the mousemaid's face, something which resembled him of himself. He turned to Saxtis. Leave Storm alone, friend. If she says she's all right, then she is. Let her be. As they strolled through the grounds together, young Redwallers sported and cavorted everywhere. Storm watched them with amazement in her eyes. What are you doing, Dandin? Oh, they're playing. It's a sort of sports day. Sports day? Playing? What's that mean? Saxtus was about to explain about a twine-tied leaf ball rode in front of them. A baby hedgehog came chasing it. Storm picked up the ball. Is this something for playing? The little hedgehog stood smiling at her with all the innocence of a dibbon. Gonna see how high you can throw it. Gotta see how high you can throw it. Storm spun the ball in her paw. How high I can throw it? Let's see. She tossed the ball into the air. As it came down, she swung with the knotted end of Gullwhacker. It struck the ball spot on, sending it soaring into the sky until it was a mere dot. Dandin, Saxtus, and the Dibbin Hedgehog gasped in admiration. Storm smiled. Good, I like playing. What are we playing next? Eek! Some distance away, Tree Rose was struck on the back by the falling ball. Roof Brush came sauntering over. What's the matter? What's the matter, Squirrel? Tree Rose was furious. She grabbed the ball and came marching over to where the three mouse stood. Holding the ball, she chattered fiercely. Who did that? Come on, up, own up. Storm did not realize the ball had struck Tree Rose. She stood forward, grinning cheerfully, and nodded at the squirrel in a friendly way. I hit the ball high. It's called playing. Do you want to play? Tree Rose went red with temper. You dirty, filthy little ragamuffin, I'll teach you a lesson. Swiftly she lashed out, scratching the side of Storm's face with her sharp little dew-claws. Before any beast could stop her, Storm whacked the knotted rope squarely between Tree Rose's eyes. The squirrel sat flat on her tail in the dust, tears pouring from her eyes. Storm was perplexed. She rubbed her cheek as she turned to Saxtus. What's the matter with her? What did she scratch me for? Tree Rose saw Roof Brush watching and set up a wail. Wah! She hit me! What are you going to do about it, Roof Brush? Roof shrugged. Don't know, really. Suppose I'd better shake her paw. Boo-hoo! That little scuffbag has broken my skull. Boo-hoo! Mother Melis' huge paw swept Tree Rose upright and dusted her down. Stop that wailing, or you'll bring on the rain, miss. Stop it. You're not really hurt, and if I hear you insulting a guest of Redwall, I'll dust your tail so hard you won't sit down for a season. Now go and get washed with cold water. Your eyes are all squidgy with whining. Be off with you. Mother Melis turned on Dandin and Saxtus. And As for you two pickles, didn't I tell you to get this mouth made a bath and some proper clothes? She said she doesn't want any, Dandin protested. Mother Melis eyed the rebellious Storm. Oh, doesn't she? Well, we'll see about that. Melis took a step forward. The mousemaid took a step backward. Keep your paws off me, you great stripy lump, or I'll gullwhack you. You what? Storm swung the gullwhacker. You heard me, Badger. Now back off. Mother Melis looked over Storm's shoulder. She smiled and curtsied. Good morning, good afternoon, Father Abbot. Storm turned to see who the badger was addressing. Melis pounced. The mousemaid was pinioned by two large badger paws, the rope dangling uselessly at her side as Mother Melis whispered in the air. Gotcha, missy. Now let's see if soap and water and a dress will civilize you, you little savage. Saxtus and Dandin fell out laughing as Mother Melis carried off a kicking, yelling Storm. Yeah, let me go. Paws off, you great lump of an abby dog. Fight fair like a warrior, you big stripy trickster. Let me go. Yeah. Grrr. Tarquin joined them, tinkling away on her Harolina. Oh, Cox! Old Mother Melis has her work out there. No mistake. Well, then, you chaps standing in Saxtus, isn't it? Allow me to introduce myself. Tarquin L. Woodswirl, at your service. I remember Redwall Abbey quite fondly, you know. Of course, I was only a little sprog last time I was here. Do you think do you know? I think a chap could do a lot worse than stop here and become the jolly old resident heir. What? The two young mice immediately took to the garrulous Tarquin. Dandin especially admired the Harolina and the skillful way the hare played it. That's a beautiful that's a beautiful instrument, Mr. Tarquin. I play the flute, see? This is a whistle that belonged to my ancestor. Do you know Frog in the Rushes or Otter Hornpipe? I like Field Mouse Frolic myself. In a very short while, young Redwallers had gathered around Dandin and Tarquin, clapping their paws, hopping and dancing, as the pair played merrily, complimenting each other with instrumental harmonies. Tarquin's words proved true. Storm was no easy mousemaid to deal with, as Mother Melis, Sister Sage, and Sister Serena soon found out. Grr, Spudge, get a soap out of my mouth, you murderers! Melis held Storm firmly by the scruff of her neck as she kicked and slashed about in the tub. Sage and Serena battled gallantly with soap and loofah as bath water splashed and sprayed all over them and the infirmary floor. Melis ducked Storm's head under the warm, sudsy water, holding her up for her sister Sage to scrub away at the mousemaid's neck. Good golly, you could grow a crop in the muck we're getting off you, missy. Here, give me the soap. Serena, go and get another bucket of water. This has been worse than being drowned at sea. Get off, let me go. Be still, you young rip. I'm soaked to the hide here. Keep her away from that gullwacky rope thing. Sage, or she'll cause havoc. Whoosh, plut. Let me get my paws on my rope. I'll show you three torturers. Slipping and splashing, the three battled furiously with slippery Storm. Abbot Bernard and Simeon passed the infirmary door on their way to Cavern Hall. My stars, Simeon, sounds like a fully fledged massacre in there. Well guessed, Bernard. You're not far wrong. Still, who knows? Young Storm Goldwhacker may prove a clean and valuable member of our little company. Guess clean at least when Melis, Sage, and Serena have finished with her. What about the other one, the hare? Oh, you mean Tarquin. He is to be our first resident hare. He brought a scroll with him from Lord Ronblade, the master of Salamanderstron. Here, I'll read it to you. It says, to Abbot Bernard of Redwall, from Ronblade, protector of the shores. It comes to my mind that ties between your abbey and my mountain should be strengthened. Therefore I send this hare, Tarquin L. Woodthorle, to you. He is a frivolous glutton, lovesick, and prone to composing dreadful ballads. Added to this, he has an odd sense of humour, a strange idea of dress, and is disruptive with other hares. Be that as it may, he is a fearless fighter, an excellent scout, and totally honest. I hope you will find his services satisfactory. Give my wishes to Melis and all the good creatures at Woodwall. May the seasons be kind and bring you peace with long prosperity. Ronblade, Widestripe, Lord of Salamanderstron. Well, that's what you think of that for a reference, Simeon. The blind herbalist gathered up his habit for the stairs ahead. At least Ronblade is truthful. The hare has its fruits, and he has good features. The Badger Lord would not send him to us if there was not something in his clever mind. Maybe he fears the approach of his trouble and has decided that we need to link with Salamanderstron. And I like the sound of this Tarquin Woodsorrel. Maybe Ronblade's loss will turn out to be Redwall's gain. I hope you were right, my friend. Your intuition has never let us down. Early evening found Storm Gullwhacker being propelled forcibly out of the main abbey doors to mingle with the other creatures of Redwall. She fought half-heartedly as Melis shooed her out. There now, go and play. My, you look very pretty now, Storm. Pretty? What's that supposed to mean? I feel stupid with this dress on, and half the hide scrubbed from me. Couldn't I wear my old burlap smock, please? What, that scruffy old thing? Certainly not, child. I told Sister Sage to burn it. Where's my Gullwhacker? You haven't burnt that too, have you? No, don't worry, Storm. We gave it a good scrub in what was left of your bath water, and it's hanging out of the infirmary window to dry. You can have it back tomorrow. Now play outside with the young ones, but don't get yourself all messed up again. It's nearly time for the abbot's feast. Dandin could hardly believe his eyes. Was this pretty mouse maid in the light green linen habit the frowsy-looking terror he had encountered earlier that day? It seemed hardly possible. He held out his paw to her. Come on, Storm, I'll take you round to the orchard. You can sit between me and Saxtus at the Abbot's Jubilee feast tonight. What's an Abbot's Jubilee feast? Listen, do you like singing and dancing, and as much of the very best food and drink as you can swallow? Yes, is that what it's all about? You'll soon find out. Come on, let's run. There's Derry Quill, we'll race him. The two young mice dashed off across the lengthening shadows of the abbey lawn as the birds twilled their even song to the setting sun. Chapter 11. Ronblade, Widestripe's massive form dwarfed the hares who stood in front of him. The blood of many Salamanderstron badger lords flowed in his veins, and he seemed to fit perfectly into the vast rocky hall of the mountain, seated on his throne with the huge broad sword, Vermin-Fate resting lightly in his hefty paw, the ride's brown eyes partially closed as he digested the information from the returning hares of his long patrols. Torches flickered at rock-walled sources of the roughly hewn hall, blending with dying rays of the sun as its fiery orb sank into the western seaward horizon. Silence would follow each report until Ronblade questioned his scouts.
So you sent this mouse-maid, Storm Gullwhacker, with Puckled through to Redwall? Where's move, Clary? They may cross trails with Tarquin Woodsorrel. The Abbey will be a good place for them both. What news of my belle, Shorebuck?
None, Lord, sandy-hued hare, leaning upon his spear, replied. No creature we can speak of, with knows where the great bell may be. Ronblade sighed, resting his chin on the sword handle.
3 seasons late, nobody knows the whereabouts of Joseph or the bell. Sea rats have the answer, I know it. Only time will tell. Fleetleg, any more about the ship from the northwest?
A tall Saturnine hare stood forward. We sighted her earlier this evening, Whelp. He was sailing too far off to be certain. What Longeyes says it could be the Dark Queen. Ronblade sat up straight.
Are you sure of this, Longeyes?
The hare called Longeyes lunged at the window, scanning the horizon. He turned to address Ronblade. I'm practically certain, Lord. My eyes see further than others. It looked to me like Dark Queen. No other ship in Gaboot's fleet has red sails. If she had cut in closer to land, I would have been able to tell you more. But she tacked off windward and travelled north by east. Did you see who was at the helm?
It was not Saltar, Lord. Of that I'm sure. I didn't get much of a glimpse, but I'm guessed by his build it was the one called Greypatch.
Greypatch. He's Gabool's best steers rat. It could mean that Gabool has left his island. Dark Queen is the only ship he would sail in if he did.
Brigadier Time ventured an opinion.
My lord, if Gabool has taken to sailing again,
That could be trouble. Ron Blade arose. He strode across to the windows, where he stood gazing at the restless sea ebbing and flowing eternally.
the prophecies carved on Salamanderstone's walls tell of a time coming soon when trouble will become a byword. My destiny and trouble walk the same path, paw in paw. Eat and sleep now, my faithful patrols. Our fortunes and fates are written in these rocks. Leave the worrying and wandering to the waves and clouds.
A night mist had fallen when Greypatch anchored offshore. A longboat was lowered to take the reconnaissance crew ashore. Greypaw stayed abroad with Frink, his lookout, always watching north and west for signs of Gabool in pursuit. Greypatch called down to Deadgleam, his boatswain.
See if you can find the likely spot, mate. Fresh water and cover in plenty.
Deadgleam took the scimitar from between his teeth long enough to answer.
Leave it to me, skipper. I've got a nose for likely coves.
Mist-shrouded moonless night enveloped Deadgleam as he led the shore party forward into the dunes. He peered into the darkness.
Not much thereabouts, lads. Not but sand hills here. Gerd, get up on your paws. Time for sleeping when we're back aboard the Dark Queen.
Gerd? Gerd lay still, unable to answer because of the toad trident lodged in his throat. Immediately a score of tridents descended upon amid the unsuspecting sea rats. The screams of two wounded pierced the still night. Deadgleam waved his scimitar, yelling at the silent dunes.
Come on and fight! Show yourselves, you creeping bilge washers!
Suddenly the storms echoed with thunderous croaking as countless toads popped out armed with tridents. Deadgleam knew his challenge had been a foolish one. Throwing valor to the winds, he took to his paws, shouting, "Retreat! Retreat! Back to the longboat!" From the ship's rail, Greypatch and Deadgleam could see the tide line, teeming with trident-waving rattlejacks. Deadgleam shuddered.
Captain, if anybody tells you a toad is slow, don't believe it. We barely made it. The longboat's ahead of those slimy devils. There must be thousands of the croaking scum.
Greypatch turned from the rail.
Set another course. North and east, Fishgill. We'll try our luck further up the coast. Jump to it now, you swab. I don't want Gabool having over the briny at our wake.
Gabool the Wild could not sleep. He paced around the bell, chopping at mid-air with his sword, belating his thoughts to the brazen prize.
Greypatch across the day he was spawned when I could catch up with him. Or boil his skull and bring it here for you to see my beauty. See if I don't. Ha ha! First Blue Drig and then this miserable brother Saltar. Corsair. Ha! He's nothing but fish bait now, like the other two. The scrawny little mousemaid and her dear daddy Joseph. Ha ha! He's the one that made you, isn't he? Gone to fish bait for his foolishness. Barg.
Gabool jumped back with a yell. Then he ran round the bell to in a wide circle, searching and seeking, but there was no beast in the room save for himself. Gradually he became calm.
Ha ha! 'Twas only the wind playing tricks.
Striding back to the bell, he stroked it fondly.
Belay! So what if you can do truck? You tell old Gabool all your secrets.
The bells remained silent. Gabool. The king of the sea rats gazed up in narrowed eyes at the figures embossed around the top of the bell skirt.
Hell's teeth! What do it all mean? Tell me what's all those pretty little pictures? Mice, badgers, rats, ships, in all manner of things. You tell me I'm your master now. Speak it, do you hear me? Speak!
But the bell remained still and voiceless, an inanimate metal object. Gabool's wild temper rose. He spat upon the bell and kicked it. Still no sound came forth. In high bad mood, he strode from the room, turning in the doorway and brandishing his sword at the great bell.
Hill and Gullbait, you'll talk to me alone. I'm done with you.
He slammed the door furiously and strode off to his bedchamber. Behind him in the empty room, the bell tolled out one booming knell. Gabool's nerve deserted him. He cut and ran. Leaping into bed, he threw the covers over his head and lay there shivering. Sleep was a long time coming to Gabool the Wild, but when it did, he wished that he had stayed awake. Badgers, mice, sea rats, and spectral ships sailing upon the phantom waters pursued him down the corridors of his restless imagination. The figures around the bell had come to life to torment him throughout the long dark night. Lord Ronblade, too, was sleeping. His vast form lay sprawled upon the bed near his armourer's forge in Salamanderstrong Mountain. The sword of Verminfate lay upon the bed, close to paw as it always was. In his dream, the Badger Lord found he was looking at the bell that he had commissioned Joseph the Bellmaker to cast for him. It was beautiful, just as he had imagined it would be, shiny with dull sheen graven round top and bottom with the poem and the mysterious pictures within which only Badger Lords could interpret. Now a shape was materializing through the burnished curve of the full bell metal, his arch-enemy Gabool the Wild. Curving sword and claw, the sea rat advanced, ornaments jangling, golden emerald-studded teeth glinting in a fiendish smile. Ronblade's reaction, even in sleep, was instantaneous. He seized his broadsword and leaped from the bed, striking out with savage force. Clang! And I see, my lord. Old chap, are you all right? Colonel Clary was at his side. Ronblade came fully awake, rubbing his eyes with one paw. And gazed down at the sword in the other.
What? Oh, yes, thank you, Clary. It was merely a dream. My aunt's kittens. They must have.
Oh, my aunt's kittens. My aunt's kittens. That must have been rather a dream, jolly dream, my lord. My lord. Look, what did you do? What you did to that shield? Ronblade stared at the shield which had been in the way of his sword swing. The thick metal plate had been sheared in half. It lay on the floor completely severed. Absent-mindedly, the Badger Lord tested the unmarked blade of Verminfate.
No alarm, old friend. Go back to your rest. It was only a dream.
Oh no. No alarm. Oh yeah. A dream, eh? Something out of the past, perhaps? Ronblade lay back on the bed and held the formidable blade tightly.
No, this was something from the future. I know it.
Gabriel Quill stood up amid the tables and multicolored lanterns that gazed the orchard. He held a tankard of best October high and cried, "Righto, every beast! Let's give a Redwall toast to Rabbit!" Every creature stood, raising bowls and beakers, tankards, cups, and flagons. The soft summer night echoed as the multitude called out in one voice, "Abbot Bernard, father of Redwall! Ha ha!" Saxtus sat down with a groan, holding his middle.
Woof! Shouldn't be yelling like that. An over full stomach.
Tarquin scoffed as he relieved Saxtus of his plate. Emptying the forest trifle, strawberry flan, pear gâteau, and hazelnut cream junket into his own oversized wooden bowl, he grabbed the spoon and tucked in. "Ha ha! What's the matter, laddie buck? Little tum too full, is it? Scrumpful Tucker shall show you how to navigate your way around a bowl of tucker, mum. I say, any more of that summer cream pudding stuff left?" Grub the Dibbin-Mole replied as he nodded sleepily forward toward an over-heaped plate of woodland summer cream pudding. "Brr, bain't no more pudding, sir. I stuffed the last to it, sir." Buxton and William made immediately left off eating huge portions of steaming Bernard bread and dug into either side of Grub's plate, eating furiously as the baby mole's sleepy head dropped nearer the pudding. "Oh, save the child! Hurry up and scoff quick now, lest the hinfant be drownded in yon pudding. Her. Tarquin joined him indignantly. "I say, you chaps, chew each mouthful 20 times, and leave this to me. Bally unthinkable, poor little blighters being drowned in a plate of pudding. Do not worry, young sire. Help is at the spoon. I'll save you. Grumph. Storm tried to stop spluttering. Gabe Quill's giggly buttercup and honey cordial across the table. She shook with unbridled laughter at the antics of Tarquin and the two moles rescuing the dozing grub. The mousemaid had never been so happy in any of the life she could remember. The food, the delicious drinks, the food, the kind abbey creatures, the food, the good friends about her, and of course, the food. Never had she tasted such marvellous things, alternating between Bernard bread and black currant pudding and summer salad, cheese and nut flan, mint cream cakes and honey glazed preserved fruits. She held her own with the best trencher beasts. Dandin was showing off slightly for her benefit, tossing red currants up and catching them in his mouth. He was quite good at it. Here, watch this storm. But you can't catch red currants like me. Ha! Ha ha! Who can't? I'll show you. Watch. Unfortunately, the giggly cordial had got the better of her. Storm tossed the red currant high and missed it completely. It bounced off Foremole's head and lodged in the ear of Tree Rose. She was feeling tired and sulky. Wah! I've gone deaf in one ear. She threw something at me. Formal flicked the offending red currant out into the grass. Taking up a great spoonful of Otter's hot root soup, he held Tree Rose's nose and poured it down her open mouth. Missy, don't eat victuals, boy, sticking 'em in your earlugs. Down thy mouth it should be a-going, like this, little missus. Treevels was not heard to complain again that night. She was too busy pouring cold water down her throat to kill off the taste of the otter hot root soup, which it was said that could thaw out an icy river in midwinter. Most of the eating was now over, and speeches began. Abbot Bernard thanked the friar for supervising the wonderful feast. Also, the helpers and layers of table, Gabe Quill for the excellence of the drinks, and all present for their tending. In response, various creatures stood up to thank the abbot, toast Redwall, and congratulate their hosts. Ruth Brush called for some dancing, but was silenced by an oat scone, and dancing and jigging was out of the question after having eaten so much. So the singing began, never being backward at coming forward. Tarquin was up on his paws, chewing the last of his celery surprise. As he turned his Harolina, finishing the food, he launched into the song of the long patrols. Oh, it's hard and dry when the sun is high and dust is in your throat. When the rain pours down, I'll fit it to drown the soaks right through your coat. But the hares of long patrol, my lads, stout hearts they walk with me, over hill and plain and back again by the shores of the wide blue sea. Through mud and mire to a warm campfire I'll trek with you, old friend, o'er lea and dale in a roaring gale, right to our journey's end. Yes, the hares of the long patrol, my lads, love friendship more than gold. We'll share good days and tread long ways, good comrades, brave and bold. Drubber Mole banged his tankard upon the table. Amid the applause, "Grr, that'd be a good ballad, bringing tears in my eyes, it do." Then it was William Mole's turn to get up and sing the mole song. He did it solemnly in the correct mole manner, and was cheered loudly, though this time it did bring Drubber to tears. He wept unashamedly.
Burr, ain't nothing like music to soften the Hamel's heart.
Dandin was called upon. He rose and performed a newly written tribute to Abbot Bernard, accompanied by Tarquin on the Harolina. Long may you rule, our Father Abbot, long may you reign over all the woodlands of moss flower and the Abbey of Redwall. When I was a young mouse, I learnt at the knee of the Father of Redwall the lessons for you and the lessons for me from the Father of us all. In those good dippin' days I learnt many kind ways to be honest, strong, and true. And wherever I go I'll remember always that I learned them, sir, from you. Long may rule Father Abbot over all these creatures and me, And may we all say in our own simple way, have a happy jubilee. Every creature insisted on singing the song again, with Tarquin calling out the words from a scroll. It was a huge success, though Drubber broke down completely and had to be comforted by Dante and Buxton. "Yer now don't ye take on so, Drub, old lad. It'll be only a song. Hurray, don't be a sobbing now. Take my anchor, chiefy." Several more singers were called on to perform. Dirty Quill sang the comic song, "Why Can't Hedgehogs Fly?" The Otter twins, Bag and Run, recited the epic poem. Otter Bill and the Shaking Shrimp. This led to more demand for poems, and Saxtus was finally coaxed up to recite the poem he had memorized in the gatehouse. Nervously, Saxtus stood up and clasping and unclasping his paws as he began falteringly. "The wind's icy breath o'er the land of death tells a tale of yet to come. Across the heaving waves which mark ships' graves lies an island known to some, where seas pound loud and rocks stand proud and blood flows free as water. To the far northwest, which knows no rest, come a father and his daughter. The mind was numb and the heart struck dumb when the night seas took the child, held to her fate by a son of Hellgate, the dark one called the Wild. You whom they seek, though you do not speak, the legend is yet to be born. One day you will sing over stones that are red in the misty summer dawn." In the silence that followed before the applause, Storm Gulliwacker gave vent to a hoarse, strangled sob, which echoed amid the startled revelers. Chapter 12 is the next chapter. I'll let you see pictures of a ship, but we'll stop there for now, and we will pick up next time. See you next time, chaps and chapesses.